What is up, Badger fans? Night before, it's the community show. That means you can call in, you can chat. We've got banner questions. It's all about the community today. We got Bama tomorrow. They're mid. Saban's gone. At least I saw that on a tweet somewhere. Let's talk about it on Wisconsin. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. It's Bama. Bama's tomorrow. Big noon kickoff. Justin, this is the community show, but a couple things I wanted to ask you really quickly. Have you grown more or less confident this week?
Interesting question.
That's a heavy sigh, man.
Well, I know it just means I put thought into it, and I think that I've come around to the idea that there's more ways that we can keep it close. I don't know about if I've come around to, there's so much that needs to go right for them to win this game. We have to be plus in the turnover margin. We have to, TVD has to play out of his mind, and because I don't trust the running game to carry us, we're not going to run it down Bama's throat. We're just not consistent enough and not explosive enough in the running game to be able to carry that. So my gut instinct here is if we want to sit on the ball and try keeping this game close, we're going to lose by double digits. It's just going to happen. They're too explosive, and I don't think we can consistently hold out drives playing that way. You're just not putting together 15-play drives and chewing up 8 or 9 minutes of clock.
So I don't know if you answered, though. Have you become more or less confident this week?
Probably slightly more confident that we can keep it close, but not necessarily that we can win the game.
Yeah. Let's get again, this is the community show, so when people calling in, we're going to get them on the show. Let's get Rob on. Rob, man, I just want the initial confidence level heading into Bama. Obviously, Rob's a great friend of the show, been here several times. Where are you at?
We'll go confidence level. Well, if you're expecting us to win, then the confidence level is at a 3. Okay, it's not very high, but confidence level, we could do something. It's going to be a 6 or 7. The question you asked Justin was a good question. I think my answer would be that my confidence it will go up, or the confidence level is that if this offense doesn't look good, then we need to start questioning Longo even more than we have been.
That's an interesting one too. Justin, is this starting to be a barometer game for Longo, or is it too early?
I think so. I think, listen, when you start to stack up consistent levels of continued success, meaning this is what we're getting every time he comes out, at some point I have to look at it and say, you just got to find ways to do more with what you have. The tools he has in the toolbox are not this bad. There's good enough talent in that room to put together a upper 20s offensive team for a year. And I don't think that that's what we're getting right now. I think we're getting a team that's low 20s because right now, the way I've watched offense in these first few games, there's no reason we should struggle to have 16-play drives against the level of competition we're playing against. They should be able to pop out 8-play drives. Either you're actively trying not to attack teams or you're just not utilizing your talent in the way that you should be.
It's a prove it game. I mean, you don't necessarily need to win, but you got to prove something to me. I don't think we can score 3 touchdowns. If we score 3 touchdowns, to me, that checks one box, I think.
That feels like such a low bar, but I'm not saying you're wrong.
But it's Bama.
It is Bama.
I understand who we're playing.
Let me say this. I think over the course of the week, I've gotten more confident. Some of that is just I'm freaking excited for this game. And I know some of it is I've probably convinced myself on some things, but I also don't think this is definitely this is not the best version of Alabama that you will have seen in the last 10 years. It's a team that's a little sloppy, has some offensive line issues. It's early in the season. I've gotten a little more confident on Longo. I don't think this is necessarily a prove it game by itself, but I think this season in the whole,
it's a prove it season to me. I think he's gone if he doesn't. If this offense doesn't take a step this year, I think he's out the door, because I think that will tell me that him and Fickell aren't on the same page. with what they actually want from an offense. And I think Longo's kind of throwing up his hands a little bit saying, you brought me in to run my offense, and now you're telling me to completely change. And I don't think that you can do that. Like, let him do what he's good at, or get somebody in there that's doing what you want, that is good at doing that. But don't try to change him into something he's not, and then be upset when the quality of what you're getting isn't up to snuff. It's not what he's used to doing.
Yeah, Rob, give me a score prediction. Then I want to get Mark on here.
Yep, no problem. I've been saying, and I'll stick with it, 31-20.
Let me ask you this before you go, because I think this is an interesting question. I'm going to ask Justin this later too, but I want your answer while you're here. Is that a successful outcome? In other words, is losing a game by less than 2 touchdowns, should that be at some level considered just a successful game for Wisconsin? Or is that a crappy mentality?
I think it would depend, like, how close that game is. I mean, you know what I mean? Is that touchdown at the end, that will say, but it's like, if that's kind of how it's been, I'd consider it somewhat successful. We're not getting blown out there.
I kind of agree with that.
Like I said, though, but in saying that, that's only 2 touchdowns. And that's why I said 3. You know what I mean? You get the 3 touchdowns, maybe get 24, and then the defense has got to play out of their mind. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I love it, man. As always, my friend, thank you for jumping on the show.
Yeah. Hope an Alabama fan joins.
Yeah, we got a couple last time. I hope so too. All right, let's get Mark on here. Thank you so much, Rob. Mark, what is up, my friend? Welcome back to the show. What's your confidence level at? And has it got more or less confident this week? Oh, you're muted.
There we go.
All good.
I would say it's a little more confident because their O-line is apparently bad. So our defense, this is the toughest defense that they've seen this year. So hopefully that's good for us.
Yep. The thing is, I watched some of the USF game, and Justin and I were talking about this earlier. I actually think USF's defensive line is probably more athletic than Wisconsin's, but I think as a whole, our defense is better when you factor in the secondary and the linebackers. So this is the best unit they're going to see. I don't know how much that exactly means. What's your score prediction? What do you think is going to happen?
It'll probably be like a low-scoring game. I'm going 14-7 us.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
Interesting.
Justin, let's we were talking about this the other day. Let's say it is a low-scoring game. I would sell parts of Wisconsin if we could hold them to 14 points, or 7 points. But like, what does the Badgers defense need to do to hold with Alabama to 2 touchdowns or less?
Honestly, they need to stack the box and basically take away their run game. And on the side note of that, the secondary has to ball out because they're going to be put on an island and have to basically lock down some receivers that, well, very physically talented, may not be as seasoned and experienced as what Alabama's used to going to bat with. So basically, you have to put so many bodies up front that they can't run the football, and your corners have to play lights out.
Let me ask you both this, because Justin, you and I talked about this right before the show a little bit, and we've gotten a couple comments. This is a good one here from Daniel Bloom. I don't believe the Badgers are as bad as you guys think. I believe in Fickell, 31-27 Badgers. Have we been overly negative, like overly pessimistic based on the first 2 weeks?
If we're talking run defense, no.
How about overall, though? Because I think for me, I might have been a little too pessimistic at times. And a lot of teams have struggled through the first 2 weeks. I do think, though, there are issues on this team, and you talked about them. I think the run defense is what it is and what you've seen on film. And I don't think there's a level of optimism that's going to fix that particularly.
No. If I were Longo, I think they kind of hit everything from the first 2 weeks. They need to open it up tomorrow, like everything. Catch them off guard.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about that too. Justin, how realistic is that?
I've told you flat out that I think if we try to go into this game and shortening the game, I think it's a mistake. I think that basically locks you into a loss because there's no way that you're going to win the game at all. Bama's too explosive. It doesn't matter if you go on an 8-minute drive if they get the ball back and score in a minute and a half. So you have to basically score the football and run and hide. We've watched it before with other Big Ten teams against Ohio State, where when they get upset, it's because a team like Purdue or Iowa gets hot hot offensively and ends up getting like a 3-touchdown lead on them, and then suddenly they have to play catch up and they start pressing. That's what you have to do to Bama. You have to somehow get ahead and then put pressure on them to make plays to get back in the game. Because when that happens, then they start making mistakes. You have quarterbacks that, listen, Milroe can throw the deep ball well, but he's not a guy that I'm super afraid of in terms of his ability to carve up a defense. He's a guy that can make some big chunk plays, but he's not like Michael Penix was with the Washington offense, where he's throwing darts all over the field to a bunch of really seasoned first round wide receiver talent.
Hey, Mark, give us any other keys to the game, any other players you're looking for here?
I don't know why they haven't used Tretch more.
I agree there. Listen, so it's interesting. If you look at the Dare does the all 22 breakdowns, and he's mentioned Tretch has run some incorrect routes. And I think that's true because he's inexperienced. Where I would push back is I don't care. He's too explosive, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you got to find a different way to get him involved then. And it might be as simple as you're not running a fuel route. Like, you're not running space. You're literally running a black and white 9-yard cut. That's something we were talking about on Discord, but I also think it's as simple as maybe you give him a jet sweep. Maybe you throw a couple more screens his way. Like, I'm with you. They have to find a way to get the ball in his hands more. And I'm sorry if he's a little inexperienced, but part of that's coaching. Find ways to utilize your weapons. And if it's too I want to say too complicated, but if he doesn't have the experience to do some of what you want, then you simplify parts of it. And that's kind of where I'm at on that. All right, Mark, man, I appreciate you, brother. We're going to get Tyler in here. Where are you watching the game?
I'm actually going to be out having lunch with my family. Hopefully they'll have a TV on somewhere.
Cancel that. Nope. Cancel that. Watch the game. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. No, I'm kidding. Thank you so much for dialing in, man. We'll talk to you hopefully next week.
All right.
Tyler, what's up, man?
How you doing, guys? The Expos hat. Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I found it in kind of a hidden gem, so I like it.
Dude, classic. What's the vibes for you right now? What's the confidence level, Tyler?
Guys,
also honestly, a good friend of the show, by the way.
I'm a little nervous, not gonna lie. I'm worried that they're gonna kind of do what Wisconsin used to do to teams and just take advantage of our run defense and wear us down, and maybe we kind of hold up in the first half, and then by the end of the third quarter, they really start to weigh on our front line, and then we have to bring Waller down in the box, and then maybe they take advantage of maybe Lucas, even though he's played really well so far as a freshman. He's still pretty young, and put one of those Alabama receivers on him and start taking shots deep. And offensively, I think Van Dyke hasn't looked as athletic as maybe we thought. In the preseason, you hear he runs 20 miles an hour with Brady Collins in spring, and he hasn't looked as limber as I thought. So kind of makes me nervous if we can take advantage of his athleticism at all. So we'll see. I don't know. Always going to root for the Badgers, but
he's a little bit of a semi. Not much handling with him.
Yeah, right.
Straight line, and you go side to side, and he starts getting a little out of whack.
Mac truck, yeah.
I made the comment after the first game, like he kind of corners like the Titanic, right? Like he's not getting out of the iceberg's way.
Right.
No, I hear you, Justin. Like, I think it goes into the point you were making, Justin. Like, because if Bama, and Tyler, I think this point is yours too. Like, if Bama can get up, then they're definitely just going to run the ball.
Yeah.
Like, then they're just going to sit on.
They're going to sit on us, and they're going to grind us to death.
Mm-hmm. That's why you got to get ahead, though, right? Like, that's why you got to start quickly. I think the first quarter, like, this is, if you remember the last couple of years before, Nebraska's going to be better this year. How good they are, we don't know. But the last couple of years, they've had kind of false hope big games at times. They'll be like a fake 3-0, and then Ohio State will come in, and Ohio State will just murder them. Mm-hmm. But they had hype in those games. And then the first quarter would happen, and everybody in the stadium would be like, oh, my gosh, we're getting murdered. This is a funeral. Wisconsin can't have that quarter. Like, you have to have a good
Ohio State a few years ago.
Yeah, they need like a kind of a quirky play. They need like a David Gilreath 2010 Ohio State kickoff return. They need a fumble recovery in Alabama's end and execute on it. They need something that's kind of the ball. They need the ball to bounce their way tomorrow, definitely, I think, in order if they're going to make something happen.
Yep. JK says need 3 turnovers and a fake punter field goal. I don't know if it's that extreme, but I do think they need to win the turnover battle.
Yeah, for sure.
They need to be productive turnovers, meaning like it needs to be on their side of the field.
Yep.
We can't be getting the ball at our own 10-yard line every time and trying to do work from there.
Yeah.
Tyler, what's the score prediction, my friend?
Oh, man. I'm thinking something like 34-17, 34-21, something like that. I think the Badgers might be able to cover, but I think it's still too early yet for me to think that they'll sneak out the win.
Got it. All right, brother. I got a few more people in the queue, so I'm going to get them in. But thank you, as always, for watching and joining the show. Hope to see you next week.
Have a good night, guys.
Let's get our boy Bernie Bango in the show. And we had one person drop off, and Evan, you'll be after him. Bernie, man, is your camera on? We'll see if Bernie. We'll take Bernie back off and see if he can get back on. We'll get Evan on.
Hey,
Evan, what's going on, man? What's going on, man? What's the vibes like right now?
I wish it were better, but kind of the same as everybody, I think.
Okay. Yeah. What's in either something we haven't hit on or something that you're interested in that we haven't talked about?
Well, I missed the early part of the show, but I guess my big thing is the quarterback. I think it always falls on the quarterback. I think with some of the conservative play calling, I just don't think they believe in Van Dyke. And I don't either. I think we should go with Locke, but, we'll see what happens. I'm going to give Van Dyke this game to prove himself and see what he can do.
Justin, where are you at on Van Dyke? Like, is this a game he needs to, I don't want to say prove it, but yeah, Evan's saying he's got to prove it this game.
I don't know what to make of him for this season. Like, I'm not seeing anything. Listen, we can't have another replay of last year with Mordecai having 6 touchdown passes during the regular season. If this is the offense that is supposed to be, this is an offense that he had guys with mid-30s and touchdown passes. I realize they're NFL quarterbacks, but what that tells me is that a good quarterback in the system, or an average quarterback, should be around upper teens, low 20s, and we're not even in that ballpark. So, we just look incompetent passing the football since he's been here, and that needs to get better. Like, we've racked up some meaningless yardage in games, but we can't seem to get scores on the board.
Yeah,
I agree. I think Locke could be making the throws that Van Dyke's been throwing. I'll give Van Dyke's had a couple good throws that Locke probably couldn't do, but for the most part, I don't know why they don't have Locke in, because he could be doing exactly what Van Dyke is doing right now.
Well, and that's a weird thing, right? Because if you wanted to have this type of offense, and listen, I don't think anybody really wants this type of offense. Like, if you gave everybody true serum, I don't think Longo's going to be like, no, this is perfect, right? I don't think Fickell's going to be like, this is exactly what we're hoping for to be Iowa 2.0, right? Like,
you're right.
That's not what anybody wants. But specifically with a big, strong-arm quarterback, like, this is not even the type of game plan you would structure around a guy like Tyler Van Dyke. So yeah. That's where I've kind of gone into the there just has to be more there. And that's where it's kind of blind optimism to some degree. I get that, but they have to see more there. Otherwise, they wouldn't have got this guy and he wouldn't be starting.
I think we saw it in the first drive. Like, that's what you want to be doing with him. I just don't understand why we suddenly stopped doing it.
Yeah.
The first, 14 points around the board.
Yeah, and I guess I just kind of go back to looking to the future too, but just developing Braden Locke and for next year, because he'll probably be the quarterback for us next year, and just giving him more experience this season, I think would be beneficial for the whole team and have some consistency.
Yeah, I agree. What's your score prediction, man? And where are you watching the game from?
I'll be watching it. I'll be watching here at home in Topeka, but I'm gonna go 34-17, kind of a similar scores here. I think we're gonna hang in there for a while, but I think they're gonna wear us down in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. That's where it feels like that's where most of the score predictions are at. They're in that range of 38 to 14 or so. All right, Evan, thank you so much, my friend, as always.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Of course. Rio, we're going to jump on you in 1 second. Appreciate you in the queue. Justin, you want to talk on this one here?
Yeah, from Bo Dragon. Actually, Bo, this is something I've actually said myself. Bo, you have nothing to lose with VD. Just let him chuck it. Everyone expects you to get blown out anyways. I literally said something similar to this to Ryan earlier today, where I said, you just need to go. You need to be aggressive. Like, you're not winning this game playing uptight and trying to hold on to the football. We will run out of gas, and Bama will just make plays. We've seen it happen against Ohio State countless times where we tried to play that style of football, and eventually they get stops, and they just go down and score. So you need to be aggressive, and you need to attack, and you need to hope the line holds up enough for them to be able to keep him clean and throw the football. And if that's the case, you have an opportunity to hopefully make some plays that you weren't expecting, or maybe he gets lucky, or maybe he recaptures a little of the Texas A&M, mojo that he had last year and just goes off. If that happens, great.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, right? Because at some level, what does it matter in the big picture? If Bama comes in and you get
people expect us to lose, and they don't expect it to be close right now. So take your shot.
You might as well. And this is a great point here. Matthew said USF had dudes running free. They had all sorts of opportunities for QB could throw. That is dead on. South Florida had multiple guys that were open in the secondary, and their quarterback just couldn't hit them. Now, can Van Dyke? We hope so. Maybe he can't either, but you got to let him try. All right, Rio, let's jump in here with Rio. Again, if you guys want to jump in the show, the link is in the chat. Jump on, talk Badgers, talk Bama, whatever it is. 2 rules. Family-friendly show, as always, so make sure no swearing or anything like that for the most part. Have your shirt on, unless you're Caleb. That's okay. That's the one guy that's gotten away with that. And you got to have your camera on, because I don't know all of y'all, and I don't know what might be in your background. So those are the 3 rules. All right, let's get Rio on. What's up, man?
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
I don't know if you guys listened to Wildy and Tausch today, but Joe Thomas was on there, and he said he was in the meeting on Tuesday, game plan looking real good. He feels real confident. That's a Hall of Famer.
Is he going to go in and play?
Hey, I mean, that's Joe Thomas. That's a legend.
I'll take him. He can go play left tackle. We'll move Nelson.
he said he thinks the game plan's good. He thinks we got some stuff that can surprise Bama. I mean, he knows more about football than I will ever know.
Than all of us.
Yeah, more than all of us combined, man. What's your vibe level? What's your confidence level?
I mean, let's be honest. Like, I don't necessarily think it. I'm just more of a positive guy. I'm like Rajiv. You know what I'm saying? So I got us winning 28-17.
Let's go.
Let's see. Let's shock the world, right? I mean, Bama. Like you said, we need Van Dyke. I mean, I don't know if you guys, I forget who, I think the pass was to Vinny Anthony last week.
Yep.
That one where he rolled out right to the pocket and made an NFL throw. That's an NFL throw, and you've been saying, Ryan, he's got an NFL arm since the beginning. Now, it's not very consistent, I will give you that. But if we can just see more of that guy, and hopefully Tyree can do something, and we can try to run the ball, and the atmosphere is going to be crazy. I'm in Madison. I'm a season ticket holder. I'll be at the game tomorrow.
Heck yeah.
So, like, we need the fans, and I mean, shit. I was at the game when we beat number 1 Ohio State, and nobody thought we could. So let's just keep the energy high, and we'll all get on later. And if it's bad, it's bad, and we'll talk about it in the after show. But till then, let's stay positive. Let's put some good juju in the air, and let's see what we can make happen.
Dude, I love that, because I was making that point earlier this week, and I feel like Badger fans are almost too worried about getting beat. They're not appreciating the opportunity to host Bama. Like, we get Bama in Camp Randall.
Hey, this is I'm born and raised in Madison, lived here my whole life, used to sell Coke in the stands, peanuts in the stands as a high school kid. And these are the moments you live for. If you live for these, you don't get these opportunities to host a number 4 team non-conference every day. And I mean, our history against the SEC, I mean, it's not horrible. It's not horrible
compared to most of the teams in the Big Ten. It's definitely not horrible.
So let's hope. I deliver newspapers on campus on Wednesdays, and I drive by all the players. I honk at them. I yell at them. Beat Bama, and let's just take the opportunity we have at hand and do the best we can to cheer these kids on. And I mean, at the end of the day, they're just kids, so anything can happen on both sides.
Dude, I love it, Rio. Man, thank you so much for dialing in.
Absolutely, I appreciate you guys.
No, of course, man. We appreciate you. It's all one community. That's the whole point of it. All right, let's get Hunter in. On Wisconsin. Yes, sir.
Hey, and don't forget, it's the 25 year, and we're honoring Ron Dane. We can't let him down, and it's time to shock the world.
Hey, listen, let's do this. Because Rio, man, I love the hype, if we win tomorrow, hit me up, and I'm gonna hook you up with a Ron Dane autographed helmet. If we win tomorrow, make sure you hit me up.
I got you.
All right,
All
love
right,
it, man.
guys.
Later,
Out
dude.
Wisconsin.
All right, let's get Hunter in here. Hunter, what's up, my friend? How's life?
Good. How are you?
I'm getting pumped up, man. Rio's got me ready to win this thing. Where's your vibes at?
It's pure excitement. I mean, the atmosphere is going to be crazy. I mean, all you can say, it would have maybe been better if it was a night game, but the atmosphere, no matter what, students are going to come in there. It's going to be electric. So it's just going to be a great time.
Why are we not at this game, Justin?
I believe there were a variety of reasons we could not do this, but
makes me
one
sad.
of them we were very unhappy with the 11 a.m. start time.
That is true. I'm getting
I'm
serious.
still bitter about that.
You're going to regret it.
I'm getting serious. Well, so for me, I fly out. This has nothing to do with the game, but I fly to Hawaii literally super early Sunday morning, and it just like logistically would have been painful. But where's your confidence at, Hunter? Like coming into this game?
I think it all comes down purely to how Bama comes out running. If they're able to establish that run, we might as well just call it quits because they're just going to trample us. But if we can, load the box a little bit, come in, make some good stops, I think then we can maybe settle in on defense and get something rolling. So I think that's where it really transitions into whether or not we can actually get this dub tomorrow.
I think that's the $1 million question. Justin, I want to hit you up with this too, because he's right. Like if we can't stop the run, it's just going to be a stampede. Are we going to literally be able to stop the run? And Hunter, I want your take on that too. Like, or is this just going to be? Y'all remember when we played Michigan the year Rich Rod got fired and we ran the ball 28 straight times? Like Bama could theoretically do that to us.
Mm-hmm. They absolutely. So I don't know how much we've played up in the box so far. I really haven't broken down tape enough to look at it and see how often we've stacked the box against anyone that we played. That could make a difference. I really what it will come down to is how our corners can hold up on an island if that's the case. If you can get good play from Hallman and from Forkerine, you might be able to get away with it for a while. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get away with it the whole game. They'll probably beat you at least once. But I think that's probably your route to winning. Like, if you're going to stop them, it's going to have to be 7-8 guys in the box. And you're going to have your safeties probably up a little bit too. If you have to have that run support, you can't let Milroe run the ball at all. Basically is what it comes down to. He's got to be kept. It's the Justin Fields thing that we did when he was here.
Yeah.
We have to keep him in the pocket, not let him run and break it, and basically force him. We want him to throw the football. Like if I have to choose between which way he's going to beat me, I want him throwing the football. I think there's a much better chance that you can make him make a mistake doing that than you are going to get him running the football and screwing up.
Yeah, and that's where I think it needs to lean on the linebackers here is, containing him as well as, establishing that box and really getting after the run game. Yeah.
I'm really curious how they'll do it. I'm wondering if they're going to spy him.
I think you have to.
Yeah. I think you use an Allegro or attack it. You use somebody with some physicality. Listen, I'll say this. Milroe's a big dude. Like he's a big quarterback. But you hit somebody with attack it Curtis enough times. I'm just saying, like that's the right
little
hook.
Battery ram, right?
I'm just saying, like that's a pretty big physical dude.
Yeah.
You're a student, right, Hunter? I know you mentioned in the chat.
Yeah.
What's the student perspective here? Like, how's the energy on campus?
It's been a buzz all week. Just building up each and every day from Monday through Friday today. It's just been building. I mean, you'll walk around, you'll see players walking around. You can just feel the energy for sure.
Are you guys going to get in the seats early? I have to. People are going to yell at me.
Hey, no, it's a fair question. It always has been. The past 3 years I've been here, that's always been a pain point. So I'll be there early. I'm getting in there before, hopefully around 10 a.m. Get in the stadium, get some good seats, and
Varsity AL needs to just set a beer can on each individual spot and just have everyone get your spot, get your beer.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
What's your score prediction?
I gotta be an optimist. Being a student, I'm around campus. I'm going 24-21. Us, Wisconsin.
Nice.
That's probably the type of game we win. We hold on.
That's what I
likely where
figured.
it plays out.
I love it, man. What are you hitting up if we win? Like, what's your post game?
Oh, gotta hit the bars hard. Gotta.
Yeah.
We're going to all the State Street bars.
Dude, I love it, man. Dude, thank you so much for dialing in. I really appreciate kind of the different perspective.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
On Wisconsin, man.
That's right.
I want to hit this one up, Justin, because I keep seeing this kind of stuff, and this is Michael. And I'm not, again, we always tell people, fan however you want to fan. That's 100% true in this show. But this idea that stop talking like the Badgers have any chance to make the game competitive. It's a 16-point line. Like, y'all know Wisconsin has lost games as like 30-point favorites. Like this is not like, if this game's close, nobody nationally.
Yeah. What do you want us to talk about? Do you want us to just sit here and be like, talk about all the things that they're not doing well? Because we've beaten some of that to death. What you're going to talk about in a situation like this is, how does Wisconsin make it a game, or how does Wisconsin try to win the game? What's the way that they can do that? Otherwise, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Well, what's the point? Like, and just, that's right. Like, I'll tell you this, when I worked at ESPN, I've said this story before. The first game I did the stat tracking, was Michigan at App State. That was the first time an FCS team ever won. It was in the Big House. And then later that year, I did the USC Stanford game, which is, I still think, the largest college football upset in history. Stanford was a 41.5-point dog. That was when Harbaugh just got there and Carroll had that thing running. Like, I've seen upsets double this line. And Michael could absolutely ultimately be right. Like, Bama could absolutely mop the floor with us and nobody's going to be shocked. But the idea that the Badgers have no chance to even make this competitive, like, that's just not the reality of college football.
And
like,
it's not a traditional Saban team. Like, I get people wanting to look at it as Bama, but they have not looked like what they would. Like, these first two games that Bama played, they probably are games that they win by 40 points normally. Like, UCF's not a great team. That's a team that they would have probably just spanked normally with the staff that they previously had, and with the talent level that they normally had. Listen, they lost a lot of talent. They're much less experienced than what they were in previous years. And that's kind of why they're seeing a little bit of a, not necessarily the fine-tuned machine that we normally see from Bama. It's a combination of, you have a bunch of new players and two new schemes and a bunch of guys who've never played heavy reps. And that's why they're vulnerable. Does that mean Wisconsin's going to find a way to win it? No, but it does mean that there's a much better chance that you can catch them in situations that you normally would not be able to.
Yeah. And listen, Jim Mandel says Alabama isn't the 85 Bears. Exactly. Like, they're not infallible. And I'll just point out, yes, Wisconsin is vulnerable too, more so than Bama. But that, again, is why you play the games. And this idea that this can't be competitive, I think that's hogwash, because we've seen bigger upsets become upsets. What was the line on Notre Dame, Northern Illinois, literally last week?
It was like 30 points, wasn't it?
Who won that game?
Like
Again,
that, yeah.
I'm not trying to say Wisconsin's going to win. ESPN has this as an 8% chance of winning for a reason. We are the deserved underdog, but we were an underdog to Ohio State when they came into town. Like, I'm just saying it can happen. And there are ways you can look at it from a football schematic standpoint where Bama hasn't been that sharp. We've talked about it. They lead the SEC in penalties. They have a negative turnover margin. Their offensive line has had real issues this year. That's a real thing. That's not just copium or hopium. Can we take advantage of it? I don't know. We have to play better, Justin. I think we both agree with that. If Wisconsin in the first 2 weeks shows up.
I told you earlier today, like, what are we doing well right now? There's nothing I look at and say that we're playing anything at a high level other than maybe pass defense. I think pass defense, they're legit. I think our secondary is a very good secondary, but the front seven has been mediocre at best. I think the offense has been left us wanting quite a bit. It just hasn't been up to the standard that we expect when we've seen a good Wisconsin team.
Let's get
Normally, we at least have a really good run game.
Yeah, and no, I agree with that. It's hard to point to the thing, and Curtis is jumping on the show, playmaker. Curtis Holland, for those who I'm sure everyone knows at this point. I think it is hard to
Justin say negative things.
It's good. I think it is hard to point to something specifically where you say Wisconsin has an edge in this game against Bama, for sure. But I think there's places we can match up. I think there's places where Bama's not going to steamroll us. Curtis, man, what's the vibes?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
we got you.
Okay, for some reason I can't hear you guys, but so yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting ready for the trip down tomorrow, so I had to get some stuff. Saw the live was popping up. Yeah, man, I'm excited. I think this is going to be an awesome opportunity for us. And I'm always the guy that's the positive guy. I come on, I paint the picture as to how we can win these games and things like that. So what I'm about to say might be a little bit concerning to some of you guys. I look at this game on paper, and just straight up on paper, there is zero way that we win this game. When you go down the list, we debated this all week in the Discord about the pros and cons, how we looked versus subpar opponents. Which again, you plop South Dakota's offensive line on any team in the Big Ten, especially the former Big Ten West, they're right at the top with any of them from a size and physicality perspective, which is shocking the most. But again, I implore you, look at the rosters, look at the lineup of these teams. But South Dakota could be very mid. So, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where it's like we can debate this till we're blue in the face. Alabama across their roster, pound for pound, size for size, athlete for athlete, rating for rating, however you want to slice it, they beat us, right? So for me, when I look at this game, there's really no way to logic us to a victory. Sure, there's things, if Tyler Van Dyke plays well, if our defense is able to bottle up their receivers, they're still younger receivers, Milroe makes some mistakes, there's things we can do to affect the game, obviously. But this is a game that's won on heart. And so this, to me, what I'm looking for tomorrow, what I want to see how does our team come out and play this team, right? How are we looking? Are we coming out, out the gate? Are we nervous? Are we shaking a little bit? Are we taken aback by the size of this team, by the moment? Is the moment too big for us? Do we come out and do we get pummeled, or do we come out like the way Washington State played us last year? Another example of, if you look at their defensive line and the way they played their defense, there is zero reason on earth we shouldn't have been able to just run right over them, but we couldn't. We didn't execute. We weren't able to get really anything going in the run game until late. We were taken aback by how physical, how angry, how aggressive. It's like they took the entirety of the Pac-12 falling apart out on us. And probably should have saved some of it for the rest of their season last year because it didn't end super hot for them. But that one game, they came out with a mission. And I looking back at that, they weren't going to lose that game. There was no way they were going to lose that game. And so, can we do the same thing? Can we replicate that? Can we do that? And the example I look to is Fickell's done this before. Not quite the same caliber, but the same type of moment. Cincinnati was coming off a 4-8 season. They start 2018 playing at UCLA in Chip Kelly's first year. And everybody thought, oh, Chip Kelly to the Bruins, man, this is a match made in heaven. You got a option guy who redefined offense, going to a place ripe with athletes. That California talent, has got the Michigan quarterback from the previous year who played really well. They're just going to roll. And you listen to the comments of that before that game. It was like, oh, yes, this is the easiest game for UCLA on the schedule. Cincinnati just doesn't even compare at any position. I mean, it's essentially the exact same talking points of everything for us this week. And they went right into the UCLA, the Rose Bowl, and beat them straight up. They just beat them. And so when I look at this game tomorrow, it's not about what it says on the roster. It's not about what it says on the stat sheet. In order for us to win, we just got to come out and we got to want it more. And that's it. That's my analysis.
Can you hear us now?
I can hear you from my phone. Yeah.
What's and as always, man, we just let Curtis cook when he gets cooking. What's the score prediction? What is your?
I have two. Okay. And I have two specifically because I will say this, going back to the on paper argument, I think this Alabama team is just better in a lot of different ways, and they have the talent that they can exploit that. Their biggest strength is their running game. Our biggest weakness right now, I would have to say, is probably our running defense. And when you can, and they get the direct ability to control that. For example, if our biggest strength was rushing defense and their biggest strength was running defense, they can still choose the pass, right? They control what they do. And so ultimately, when their biggest strength is our biggest weakness and they can control that, that doesn't set up well for us. So if we lose the game, I'm thinking it's, maybe I had 38-13, and I did because it's probably like, 27 or, 24-13 going into the third, fourth. We're still in the game playing hard, and they tack on a couple cheap ones when our team is finally kind of worn down, when the shine is off, when the push comes to shove at the end, and they're kind of worn down, they backdoor cover. But if we have an upset, the way I'm seeing this happen is we jump on them quick. We put Milroe in a blender, doesn't know what to do. Sometimes he struggles against blitzes. Maybe the fact that Proctor and the other guy that are supposed to start tomorrow haven't played in a while. Maybe they're a little rusty, maybe a little off, not ready to deal with some of the different coverages. You look at their defense, and I'll say this is the other thing I'll say about South Dakota. South Dakota might be, outside of maybe Iowa, the most disciplined defense we play. They did not fall for any tricks. They did not fall for any play action. They stayed in their lanes. They filled their gaps. They might not have been as good as us, but everything they did was fundamentally sound. Alabama's not like that. They were out of gaps. They had guys crossing over themselves. They had guys trying to shoot the gap for glory plays, and USF killed them on the RPOs with that. And it wasn't necessarily because they could run. I mean, that obviously helped with a mobile quarterback, but you had guys crash into a running back. You know he's a mobile quarterback, and yet you don't even try to contain him. You're like, I'm going to get this running back in the backfield and make a play. And the guy just looking at him like, I mean, okay, takes the ball and gets 10 yards. Like, so if we can capitalize on things like that, we catch them off guard. We jump out early. Maybe we're up 17 or so in the first half, kind of like an Alabama game. We score a couple more field goals because Alabama's going to clean it up. They're going to get it right. They start catching up. I think they go up, a little bit over us right in the fourth quarter, but we get a minute or so left. Maybe one deep lucky pass. The luck of the Badgers tomorrow, get a nice deep pass, set us up for a walk-off field goal. We win, 26-24 in some weird kind of score. So that's kind of how I see it going. It's either going to be some kind of crazy weird game where they're not playing their best. And don't get it twisted. Alabama has to not play good for us to win this game. They have to come out and make mistakes. Jalen Milroe's got to throw interceptions. Like, they got to mess up. And if they do and we're able to capitalize it, we come out, playing with our hair on fire, I think we got a shot.
No, I love it, man. Dude, Curtis, first of all, safe travels heading to the stadium. Yeah, I think you're right. And Justin has nailed this. You got to get up early, and then you can't play from behind. You can't have a slow start. You can't let the crowd get taken out of it. And Bama has to make mistakes 100%. This can't be a perfect Bama game, because if it is, we don't have the horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Curtis, I'm going to let you jump off, man. As always, super appreciate you. Let's do a show. I'm sure we'll hit a show up or in the bye week and kind of talk about what we saw.
Cool, man. Let's see it.
We got Clark down there, Bama fan, infiltrating. A ton of respect for Wisconsin and the program and the traditions y'all have up there. Excited to see a good game and appreciative we got this scheduled. Welcome, my friend. Let us know if you're coming up to Madison or if you're watching from the TV. Justin, we got a bunch of comments. I want to get to some of those too. And if you're seeing any you want to bring up, please nail them. I want to ask you, give me a key to the game that we're not talking about, or that generally is not getting talked about. Everybody's talking about the rush defense. Everybody's talking about make Milroe, contain him, make him throw. Everybody's talking about, can Van Dyke push the ball down the field a little bit? Can we be a little more aggressive? What's something that we're not talking about enough here?
I think the running game has to at least be solid in this. Like, we have to be able to at least keep them honest with that. If we're running into a brick wall, then it's going to be really hard for the offense to get anything done, because they'll just drop guys in the zone and we're just going to get chewed up. So you have to be able to force them into some situations where they at least need to try and keep us honest, with the run game. So if we're able to run the football, and it doesn't even have to be great. Like, if we can get 4.5 yards a carry, that'll probably get it done. Like, it's enough that they have to respect it. That changes things a little bit.
Yeah, I like that one. For me, I'm going to talk special teams a little bit. 2 weeks in a row, Wisconsin has either lost or almost lost a kickoff or punt return. But outside of that, it's been pretty good. I think the kickoffs, the field goal has been, outside of that very first one, been pretty good for Wisconsin. And punting's been great. Bertram's has really turned it on. And low key, Bama has lost their starting punt returner. Had a bad arm injury or some upper body injury. So they're going to be coming into Madison with a new guy returning punts. Maybe there's a special teams play that flips this. We've seen it for a couple weeks in a row. So that's something I'd look at. And then the other one, I think you nailed it. I think there has to be balance. I would say balance on offense. You can't let Bama load up one way or the other. So you got to be able to run the ball, and Van Dyke has to be good Van Dyke. And we've seen that in his career. He's got that in his pocket. I don't think we saw it the first 2 weeks, though. And whether that's a combination of Van Dyke, receivers, Longo, it's got to click. It's got to come together. I'm not super confident it all will, because I don't think teams generally just flip a switch. We've seen enough sports where I don't think that's a thing. But
I think it's been long enough since we've seen a good Wisconsin offensive display that we're a little skeptical at this point. I'm not saying it can't happen. It's just we need to start seeing it more often. We saw it against LSU. If they come out and play like that, they certainly can put Bama on their heels. But
Yeah, I was gonna say I love this comment here, Matt Agnew. Got to blitz a ton, stay in run gaps. Rico Island, Fort Greene Island, Xavier Lucas Island. Justin's what we've been talking about. Trust the secondary.
Mm-hmm. That's the only way you're winning this game. Like if you play straight up defense against this, they're gonna gut you with the run. It's just gonna happen. Like we're not good enough on the defensive line, and the linebackers haven't been good enough in their run reads for us to be able to just sit there and play straight up on defense and stop the run game.
Let me hit some of these because I like a lot of these comments. We got a bunch of them in the chat. L. Mills, get Dupree some reps tomorrow. I think it'd be beneficial to get some of those explosive 24 guys, whether it's Dupree, Dylan. It's probably not going to be Kion, but those two guys specifically, get those guys reps. And it's certainly if Xavier Lucas can play. I know we had another comment down here about the 24s. Eric Doherty, good friend of the show as well. That 24 class, get some of those guys some reps. And I think they bring something unique to this team from an athleticism standpoint, which is where against Bama, you're always going to be at a delta.
Yeah, I just don't think they're going to trust the young backs. I would be shocked if we see him. Yakimelli's far more likely to have a much larger role because I think the staff that trusts him at this point in time, he's run the best out of everybody. Mm-hmm. So I think that honestly, he's the one that I would trust the most if it was me. Like at some point you have to look at productivity, and he's been far more productive than any of the other guys have been.
Yeah, Matthew's on that one too. In Yak, we trust. I just kind of wonder. My big thing with Yak, and he's been great. I feel like he's kind of hit some change up moments, right, where the defense has been. Ches runs a different way. Tywee runs a different way. They kind of run more, pick their spots in the middle, and then Yak has just gapped a couple, which I think he's taken what's there. I'm not sure how that translates to Bama. I guess
I think he's been more decisive. I think those guys have sat there and waited too long. Like they're too patient in waiting for their opportunity, and sometimes you just need to press the line and go. And he's been very good at just being very, like, he understands what he wants to do, and he just hit the ground and gone, rather than sitting back and waiting for a hole to open.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's been very decisive. Bo Dragon asks, what happens to Pius being the dude you predicted? I still think the physical skills are there. The first two games have been...
They haven't really passed. Nobody's had any deep drops.
No, I'll say this. Like, this is a week where Bama's tackles weren't very good against USF. They're getting Proctor back, but Proctor hasn't played. This is a week for Pius and Lowry and those linebackers to make plays. This is a week they need them to make those plays.
In all seriousness, we could probably count the number of 5-step drops we've seen so far this season from a team on one hand. It's been quick stuff constantly.
Justin, let's maybe wrap it up here. We got 140 people in the chat. It's awesome. Obviously, huge game. Anything else that you want to hit on, whether it's a key player you're focused on, something schematically? What else do you want to finish off on here?
I don't know. It's interesting. I'm trying to think of who I think needs to have a big game. I think obviously if your offense, you're probably thinking Pauling has to have a big day, but I think he's going to be the guy that they target. If we're talking about secondary guys that are going to do it, it's going to probably have to be Green, and it's probably going to have to be Tretch finding it, because I still don't think people realize how good he is. Now, we've talked about how he's made some mistakes, but the reality is in a game like this, sometimes you may have to play through that because he adds too much, and he's so hard to stay in front of.
Mm-hmm. I'll say my biggest thing I'm fascinated to watch is offense and defense, just the schemes, what they come out with. I'm fascinated to see what Tressell does, knowing that Bama's going to want to run the ball. How aggressive are we? How much do we trust our corners? And then we've heard talk, we've heard smoke, we've heard some behind the scenes stuff. We've heard a lot that we've held some things back offensively. I don't know how much I fully buy that. I've been very honest on that. But if that's the case, I can't wait to see how they try to attack Alabama. Scott Grable down here says, as a Bama fan, our issues are the secondary. Secondary is our concern, talent there, but no experience. We saw that in week 2 for Bama. USF had guys running open. Longo needs to exploit that, period. Done. No more excuses. You have to attack that because you're not going to run the ball down the field.
It's the same thing with defense. I've talked about it with Tressell. That drives me nuts with him is that he'll wait a half and then analyze what the team's doing, and then he gets aggressive. We can't do that against Bama. You do that, you might be down 24-0 at the half. So you got to come out and just at some point try to dictate and just play aggressive and make them react. If you sit there and let them make you react, we're going to get carved up.
Scott says if Bama plays okay, they win by 3 scores. I put in the chat, what's your final score prediction? We'll wrap up there. Justin, I know you already made a prediction on Bucket Report, which if you're not following Justin, go follow him. Bucket Report JJ, they also do the Bucket Report, him and our good friend Rajiv. Do you have a final score prediction here? Did anything change for you? Did we convince you? Did Curtis come on and convince you, or did Rio come on and convince you?
Listen, I'll give you two different predictions. I'll give you heart and head. My head says 38-13, like what he said. My heart says if Wisconsin plays a really good game, we're looking at something like 31-27. Wisconsin loses.
Okay.
Very tight game, and it's maybe Bama wins on a late score.
I'm tightening it up. Okay. I'm going 31-23 Bama, but a really good game. I just think Bama wears us down a little bit, but I'm tightening it up. I've gotten more confident over the week. That could come back and bite me. But listen, here's the thing with this show. Justin knows this.
Oh, I'll admit I was wrong.
Y'all in the chat know this. We're going to be here either way, so I'll own the receipts. Anyway, let's wrap it up there. On Wisconsin, Chris Williams, 52-17. Wisconsin. Oh, he's an Auburn fan. Okay. That checks the charts. I love it.
We're gonna X-Lax in the team food for Alabama tonight.
Oh, I love it, man. We'll take all the support we can get. I thought y'all were SEC. It just means more. I will take all the support we can get. On Wisconsin, we will definitely talk later. Let's go. Oh, and it's true. I'll finish with this one. Y'all know I always have a hard time finishing with that sounds weird. Wrapping up shows. Atheist says, check the receipts, Ryan. I was 27-13 week 1, 20-13 week 2. He has been on point. So there is that. On Wisconsin, beat Bama, mid SEC team without Saban. We'll talk later.